Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
The murder of Charlie Kirk is an American tragedy. Charlie Kirk was murdered while engaging in one of our most sacred and cherished American rights, the bedrock of our democratic republic, the free exchange of ideas in a search for truth, understanding, and a more perfect union. It is also an offense against the state and to the peace and enjoyment of the people of Utah and of all those who visit here. But Charlie Kirk's murder also strikes a more personal and intimate chord. Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a husband and a father to two beautiful young children. He was a son, he was a brother, and a friend. Like all murders, the senseless and needless taking of Charlie Kirk's life has shattered the lives of those he loved and those who loved him. To Charlie's wife, Erica, his two young children, his parents, his family, and his friends, I express my sincere condolences and offer my heartfelt prayers on your behalf. I also want to express my concern for everyone who was at Charlie's Turning Point USA event at the Utah Valley University, and all who have been impacted by this tragedy. As county attorney, I am charged with bringing justice to those who offend our laws. I am charged with bringing justice for those who are harmed. I am charged with bringing justice for Charlie Kirk. I am committed to these aims. I take this responsibility seriously. Today, after reviewing the evidence that law enforcement has collected thus far, I am filing a criminal information charging Tyler James Robinson, age 22, with the following crimes. Count 1, aggravated murder, a capital offense for intentionally or knowingly causing the death of Charlie Kirk under circumstances that created a great risk of death to others. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, a first-degree felony. The state is further alleging aggravating factors on counts 1 and 2 because the defendant is believed to have targeted Charlie Kirk based on Charlie Kirk's political expression and did so knowing that children were present and would witness the homicide. The state is also charging the defendant with count 3, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony for moving and concealing the rifle used in the shooting. Count 4, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony for disposing the clothing he wore during the shooting. Count 5, witness tampering, a third-degree felony for directing his roommate to delete his incriminating texts. Count 6, witness tampering, a third-degree felony for directing his roommate to stay silent if police questioned him. And count 7, commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child, a Class A misdemeanor, for committing homicide knowing that children were present and may have seen or heard the murder and did so based on Charlie Kirk's political expression. Also, following the press conference, I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty.
He puts his phone to his ear and he begins a conversation.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. Because of my early church news video today, I was able to get to the news quicker today and therefore able to finish today, and then I found out, oh, yeah, Tyler Robinson was in court today. So So even though I spent extra time on that, I still got plenty of time to record the video that I'll post tomorrow. In the hearing today, it had nothing to do with Tyler Robinson. He really didn't need to be there. They were discussing his viewing at court, for which the press violated. And the camera had to be moved. Oh my God. They were, you could hear the defense talking, and you could see the defense's laptop and documents, and you could see Tyler Robinson in his Sunday best to show that he's a good Mormon boy. Being framed. Fox News was all over it, as there were other unofficial news sources who were vilifying Tyler for smiling. It's proof, it's evidence, he's guilty, kill him, he's smiling, kill him. No, it means he's innocent. And the whole thing is a joke. You ever thought of that? No, every criminal thinks they're innocent. Whatever. Whatever. But this was very disturbing that none of the news caught. Except for KUTV2 indirectly, because they're working on something indirectly. But they didn't make the connection with the court. Is that the defense raised the issue that the prosecution is refusing to hand over all of the discovery. And it's concerning to them because this is a capital felony for the death penalty. They need specific evidence for discovery from the prosecution, and they're not getting it. So they are vindicated because I have been chewing them out for purposely delaying this when they should have all of the evidence and therefore be able to see that their client has been framed. It's the prosecution that has not given it to them. And thus why the prosecution is maliciously extending this out on purpose. The prosecution's claim was that, well, there might be new evidence during the trial, so obviously we can't give you everything. So the preliminary hearing was scheduled for the 18th of May. And it's tentative. But still, the prosecution is very malicious in this case. KUTV2 informed the public that one of the evidences not in discovery was video evidence of Tyler Robinson turning himself into the police. Kind of important. It has to be documented. There was a video footage that the press can have access to. And yet, KUTV2 was denied twice. That evidence of Tyler Robinson on his own turned himself in. It wasn't a SWAT arrest, breaking down the doors, big shootout occurring, which happens in Utah quite often. Quite often. Nope. People said, oh yeah, that little speck on the roof looks like Tyler. Get him! Inside Edition did that as their thumbnail picture. They had Tyler's face and then the roof with a little tiny spot without a rifle, mind you, running on the roof. And so KUTV2, talking with a prosecutor concerning the lack of evidence of him turning himself in, the guy was very concerned. It hasn't been given to the prosecution nor the defense, therefore, in discovery. This tends to destroy the mens rea. There's mens actus and mens rea that are required for a court case. Mens actus, did the defendant do the act? Mens res is the state of mind in causing the act. And so, without him on video turning himself in, the prosecution is in a bad position, because it means that Tyler Robinson willingly turned himself in when people thought it might have been him. Oops. So, he is being charged with count 1, aggravated murder, a capital felony in violation of Utah Code Annex 76-5-202, in that on September 10th, 2025, in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk under the following circumstances. The defendant knowingly created a great risk of death to other individual other than Charlie Kirk and the defendant. Notice, conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty, or pursuant to Utah Code 76-3207.7, mandatory term of imprisonment for life without parole. 2, an intermediate term of not less than 25 years, and that may be for life. And so then they've got the aggravating factors that follow afterwards. Presence of a child. Yeah, they can actually count the number of children under the age of 14 to use as a different aggravating count because of the law that Utah made on that. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury. This is just a first-degree felony. This in and of itself is not for the death penalty. The first one was, and the first one only was. None of the others are good enough for the death penalty. The defense raised the issue, we need the full discovery because this is a death penalty case and we don't have the necessary evidence that show the plaintiffs claims that this is a death penalty case. They rushed to come out and say we're pursuing the death penalty, which normally would take time after a hearing. They rushed it. Where's the evidence of it then? It's not in discovery. That's what they're referring to. The mens actus. They don't have the evidence showing that Tyler Robinson did the act. Not just him with the mens reis turning himself in, which means, And so the count 2, where'd you go? There you are. In that, on September 10th, 2025, in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, discharged a firearm in the direction of Charlie Kirk, knowing or having reason to believe that Charlie Kirk may be endangered by the discharge of the firearm, and the act caused serious bodily injury to Kirk. And so I'm looking for it's in the probable cause statement. Yeah, here in the probable cause statement, here's what KUTV2 exposed here. They're making the claim. Let's see. Police conducted a manhunt for the shooter until the evening of September 11th, 2025, when Tyler James Robinson surrendered to police at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Oops. You kind of need the evidence to show that. And defense counsel said, we don't have the tape. KUTV2 says, we were denied being given the tape. It no longer exists, we were told. It was not passed off to the prosecution. And the one lawyer that they interviewed said, they don't say that to go ask the prosecution for that evidence. They didn't hand it off to the prosecution. It was deleted. The prosecution never even pursued it. They put it in the probable cause statement, and they don't have the evidence to back it up. These little kinds of things create plausible deniability. There's our dog going wild in the hallway. Must have been a doggone dog. Haven't heard that forever. It was like when I was first here, and there was the dogs out there, and I was talking to you guys about, hey, anybody want $1 billion idea? Make a game on how to train a dog before it bites you. I can't remember the name of it anymore. Yeah, that's when I had obtained the Turner and Hooch. It was just before I got the Turner and Hooch TV series, season 1. Because Amazon is fighting with Disney. And yet Disney then does a deal with OpenAI. That's tomorrow's stuff. We're focusing this video solely on Kirk getting assassinated, which I'm recognizing I'm going to be mixing up Kirk and Robinson. I hope you guys understand what I mean. So the shooting part is where the mens actus is involved. So they're doing mens reis to lead up to the shooting. There it is in the 4th paragraph. Approximately 15 minutes into the event, Mr. Kirk was answering a question about mass shootings by a Mormon. No, he wasn't. He was talking about how Mormons are great people, and he wishes he can convert to Mormonism, but his wife wouldn't let him, and she was threatening to leave him and maybe murder him. And notice how they worded this, though. Asking a question about mass shootings by transgender individuals when a gunshot rang out. I'm surprised they didn't put trans Antifa furry communist terrorists. So pay attention to this, because the prosecution has to have the evidence. This is the whole case for the death penalty. And the defense said they don't have it. They got a whole bunch of stuff on transgender, furry, Antifa, terrorist, communists, but nothing of substance for the act. The bullet struck Mr. Kirk in the neck. They don't go into detail of precisely where in the neck. But we know from the previous announcement to the public prior to the court, C2 vertebrae, the right side. Oops. Now, do you see why they're covering this up and don't have it? He slumped to the ground almost immediately. The bullet's trajectory passed closely to several other individuals beside Mr. Kirk, including the questioner who was standing directly in front of Mr. Kirk. They're claiming C2 vertebrae when the person was standing directly in front this way. So thus, the one video that I covered for you back in the day, so long ago, as well as Candace Owens' video right before Erica went on a live news tour. Candace is mean. The guy The guy shows a skeleton with the labeling of all of the bones and a trajectory from the roof of the Luze building, which is over in that direction, so it couldn't have been a straightforward shot into the C2 vertebrae. Nonetheless, there's no evidence for any of this. The prosecution is purposely dragging this out into next year. They have no case, they've got no evidence, and they're manipulating the court systems here in Utah to drag this out, maliciously torturing an innocent person in jail, while the assassin got away, which means the prosecution is involved. Pay attention, Erica. A conspiracy. Just unbelievable. Fox, you should know better. So many men are standing up for Erica. I know this behavior of men. And Erica's already in trouble for this. Wow, you're being overly defensive of her, aren't you? And they get very angry. Because they got caught. So yes, the guy shows there's no way in hell to shoot even into the C2 vertebrae right under the jaw. Because instead it would have been shot him in the mouth through the teeth. The physics don't lie. Oh my God. So, yeah. The other thing that was discussed in the hearing was about eyewitnesses. The potential. There were 3,000 eyewitnesses at the scene. And the whole world of eyewitnesses who watched the live kill shot. I'm one of the eyewitnesses. The defense was talking about me being a potential eyewitness. As I show you the clip of the kill shot that all of the national world news, professional news, refused to show the kill shot, which was a vital piece of evidence in a death penalty case, because it shows the trajectory. It shows where the shooter was positioned. That way. And the trajectory, because of the tent, means that it was almost at the same level of Charlie Kirk sitting on his chair, elevated a little bit, so that the audience of 3,000 could see him better. Which means it's not very high off the ground where the shooter had to be positioned, over by the Fugel building. This evidence has not been presented in discovery for the defense because the prosecution doesn't have it. They are making the claim it was that way from the Luze building. They're claiming a death penalty, and they've got no evidence. The whole thing, therefore, was manufactured. The whole claim of video footage of some guy on the roof that generally matched the identity of Tyler Robinson, no rifle, and yet that's not the location. They're purposely dragging out this case for as long as they can to allow more and more time for the assassin to get away. As everybody that was involved in this cover-up are involved directly in the case, tampering with it. They're the ones witness tampering. They're the ones tampering with evidence. They're the ones tampering with the case, not Tyler. Because Tyler didn't do it. All of the mens rea is worthless if you can't establish that Tyler committed the act, and they don't have the evidence. The defense put out that complaint today. We don't have the evidence for a capital crime for punishment of the death penalty. The prosecution's refusing to give it to us because they don't have it. They put it in the filing without having it in their possession. Huh. So they're dragging it out as long as they can because there's something else going on, and I've been covering that for you. But that's not what we're going to talk about. Right, Oaks? Because the Strengthening Church Members Committee are directly involved with this case in tampering with it. Come on, people. Haven't you been following me? Oh, you haven't? The Deseret News, October 2nd, 1993, after activating September 6th by firing them from working at BYU in the history department and excommunicating them. Elder Oaks, who's now the president of the church, said, local leaders are informed by church headquarters about members who may possibly be violating church standards. The Strengthening Church Members Committee pores over newspapers and other publications, and now with the internet and social media, they have a bigger group to search social media. Hi guys. And download content into troublemaker files. Mine's 36434. To identify members accused of crimes. Tyler Robinson has a membership record with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They are directly involved with this case, communicating with the Mormons on the prosecution, with Governor Cox and the Sheriff's Department and the UVU security. Wasn't it Rasband? I think it was Rasband, who just the other day, on Tuesday, did a devotional down at the UVU. Yeah, church school. And so it's not just preaching a false doctrine, criticizing leadership or other problems. So this was started as Mark Hoffman was doing things, and so yeah, that's when after he blew himself up and was going to court, I think that's the year when it finally got started. And so the church was instrumental in getting him locked up for humiliating them. Really, you couldn't figure out that a talking salamander telling Joseph Smith that his son is supposed to succeed him when he dies was forged, huh? Despite the Deseret News putting you on the front page, getting conned by him. Oh no, am I criticizing leadership again? Hilarious. Okay, so yeah, Gail Miller is tomorrow. She's again laundering money through her Zion's bank to herself for the shelters that she's on the board of. And she gets away with it in Utah because everybody does it who's rich. But when we little people do it to emulate them, we go to prison. Hilarious. So yeah, that's May 18th. Okay. All right, Erica, I warned you this morning. You thought you knew better. Okay, let's bring that one up. So the Economic Times. There are a lot of people on Instagram and Facebook and such talking about how Erica got secret money and insurance payouts immediately after. But the Economic Times, I trust, even though they were general. Because some were saying hundreds of millions, some were saying 50 million, some were saying 10 to million, some were saying 10 to 50 million. So it varied depending on who was talking about it. And they all had a similar consensus, but with the internet and social media, people tend to do false catchphrases to spread them around. For example, I got a comment earlier today after my response video to the church's response, in which so well behaving. Kevin Smith, who is older than I am, so it's not my cousin, or you have aged very poorly. To my 12 apostles of the LDS Mormon Church, Christ defy God. It's the very video. So it was shortly after I had posted that and was doing the news and came back. And so, yeah, it was a little over an hour ago. He says, the Church of LDS is nothing but a cult. A cult, guys. OCCULT. There's a difference. But that's the false catchphrase that's being circulated. This Kevin is just a drone zombie quoting what other people told him to believe. He has no interest in learning about the church, to know the factual information, just like with Tyler Robinson's case. Their Jesus doesn't even resemble the Jesus of the Bible. Yeah, that's true. But the Christian Jesus resembles nothing of the Jewish Jesus of the Bible, who were the Jewish authors who wrote it. And Joseph Smith was a big fat liar. Brigham stole Joseph Smith's church after assassinating him. And this is where we get to for Erica. It was 2017. I was still allowed back in church then. barely. And it was the Doctrine and Covenants church history year for Sunday school. Back when we still had 3 hours, before Nelson took over and cut out 1 hour of church. And I was out in West Valley also. That was before my troublemaker days of Finding the Way to Perfection by Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. about Adam on Diamond. And Oaks got leaked. And I didn't find out about that until last year, but confirmed. The church is the enemy. But my neighbor sat across from me in the aisle in the Relief Society room, which also doubles as a baptistry font. And he tapped me on the shoulder and said, this was before class, "Did you know that Joseph Smith had a pistol in Carthage jail?" I went, "Yeah. My third great-grandfather, John Solomon Fulmer, gave him his single shot, or his pistol." I didn't know it was a single shot or a 6-shooter. "I am a direct descendant through the Fulmer family. I knew from the family that Joseph Smith had a pistol. We also knew that Joseph Smith was not a polygamist, because my third great aunt, Desdemona Fulmer, we all were told by the family, was sealed to Joseph Smith in marriage after Joseph's death. It's called by proxy. I now have that document by Brigham Young. All of them are confirmed, as the clerk was John D. Lee, third great-grandfather of Senator Lee, the one who caused the Mountain Meadows Massacre, the Netflix series, which was actually pretty good, though inaccurate. They're focusing on the 2 women, nonetheless. Yeah, 9/11, 1857, or 8, somewhere around there. I think 57. Check me on that, if you really insist. It was 9/11. We all know it's 9/11. There's been a big scandal of it. And Senator Lee goes silent. Because it involves rituals and proxy baptisms and reordinances needing to be done. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if Senator Lee got him rebaptized and got his temple ordinances done over again. Nonetheless. So the neighbor then says, "Did you know he had 2? Oh, no, I didn't know he had 2. So now I'm wondering, well, which one had my third great-grandfather's pistol? Because there was Hiram and Joseph Smith. So I'm curious. I need to know. So from that day, I went home and began studying the Carthage jail crime scene, the assassination. I know how to investigate a crime scene. Not only from my education, but also as a firefighter when I lived up in Canada, where I also got my education. Most of it. The big part of it. For anthropology. I investigated crime scenes, being trained by the police chief. And so, as I'm going over the forensic evidence of the scene, I went, oh crap. I was seeing evidence of an inside job. That the claims were not true, according to the forensic evidence. So I had to go all the way back to the beginning of church history with Joseph Smith Sr. and his wife Lucy Mack and their family in Vermont, and worked my way up, putting in all of the evidence in chronological order. And as I tell my viewers in these 9,000 videos over the 9 years, if you're doing it on paper, have a different paper for names and places, and events and dates, so that they can all be coordinated, and you look for patterns, and then you look for anomalies. And so you've got to be very detailed. So what religion was Joseph Smith Sr.? Why did he name his son Hiram? Hiram, spelling it H-I-R-A-M, when the church all lets us believe that it was H-Y-R-U-M. And is it connected to Freemasonry? Which Freemasonry? There was at least Scottish rites and York rites. York rites has the Knights Templar. So yes, there's a lot of things that are involved in investigation. I needed to know what led up to the assassination. Who is connected and tied to it? Typically, at the crime scene, you only focus on who was there. And so yes, Willard Richards and John Taylor were there. They didn't need to be. They weren't arrested. What were they doing there? And the Warsaw Lodge members, painting their faces black with their rifles, not pistols. There's a difference in the results of pistol fire versus rifle fire. There's a forensic investigation that must take place, and so you need to trace back what led up to it, what happened during it, and what happened after. Erica, follow the money. And so Erica. So in this morning's video, I wasn't sure if she had insurance. I now know. She had more than just insurance. Oops. Yeah, Erica, as the wife of the person who is deceased, is the prime suspect in the case. She can't escape this. People can frame her, that's always a possibility, but the investigators must rule her out by investigating her. They've got to get into her personal files. So if she's got other crimes that she's involved with, that's gonna suck. Even if she's innocent. Nonetheless, let's see. She was made the CEO of the Tupac, whatever it's called. She's already receiving millions in donations who empathize with her, thinking that she's now a poor widow with children, pregnant, as we found out. Are you sure it was 2 weeks? Because it seems like 3 or 4 now. Are you sure? I know you're going to get angry, like the wife I used to have, when she notified me that she was pregnant. I was trying to do the math to try to figure out when the baby was coming. She, however, got overly defensive, like a man protecting a helpless widowed woman whose husband just was murdered. It's your baby! That's not what I was thinking. But thanks for revealing what you were thinking. She left soon after. She got caught and she left. So, she's also doing the book tour royalties that all go to her. Income from his media projects and life insurance policy. Yep. So apparently the Instatubers or Instagrammers, whatever it's called, Facebookers, I thought it was Meta, got it right. She got $10 to $50 million for the life insurance policy and other business ventures that Charlie built, not her. She was a trad wife. Now she's no longer a trad wife. She's a superstar going on tour in the press, doing speaking engagements, meeting with the president, getting a medal. I mean, her husband getting a medal she's getting it on his behalf. She knows Trump from Miss Universe days. She was a winner when Trump was in charge of it. Trump knows her personally. Oops. Trump was also the one who said that he was tampering with the investigation, sending out Kash Patel to deal with it. Oops. I've been informed they got him. Before Governor Cox got up and said, "We got him! We got him! Death penalty! We're going to crucify him!" So last night, Cox was in the news with some other person talking about how, can't we all just get along? Yeah, Cox likewise protests too much in the presence of a woman. I know the behavior. We all know the behavior, men. Whether women know we know, that's another issue. But Cox also has the tie-in with the church tampering with the investigation. They know Tyler Robinson isn't paying tithing. He's falling away from activity. This ought to activate him. See, he dressed up in his church clothes. It's working. So, wow. He had a 6-figure salary as the CEO. And is expected to receive a bigger salary now. A 6-figure, it would be a 7-figure. She has motive and means to hire a hitman or to do favors for someone who hired the hitman. Erica is the prime suspect in this case. people have a big cause for concern. And so, yes, even though they're focusing on other issues like how she's hugging lots of high-profile men inappropriately, spending a lot of time with them, for which she's getting angry. It's Candace's videos that she was upset with. Candace came out right before with the video footage of first with one of the employees of Tupac. I'm going to call it Tupac. The acronym's too long. Who was on the phone with his father immediately after Kirk was shot, as he was standing a little bit far back facing Charlie Kirk on the right and out of the way of the trajectory of the shot. Charlie Kirk gets shot, others hit the deck or run away. He, however, in Candace's video that she obtained, lifted up his phone to his ear and began talking to his dad, which confirmed that that was him at that moment, when his dad was giving a sermon later, not too long ago. My son called me immediately when Kirk was shot and said, "Dad, Charlie just got shot." And you see him then turn and go behind the tent, slowly walking away while everybody else was passing him by. Casually walking away. That is suspicious behavior. Prosecution isn't investigating that. Candace needs to hand that over to the prosecution and the defense for the discovery. Because that's reasonable doubt. Or a conspiracy that Tyler's in on it with Tupac. Didn't Tupac get busted for killing somebody? Or was he killed? Can't remember. It's all confusing. I won't check it. We gotta get to the bottom of Tupac. And so the next video that Candace obtains is the video of one of the employees after the shooting, removing his body from the grounds, taking him to the hospital. He goes up to the camera that was right up above his head, behind him, pointing at him. And he's going up, pulls out the SD card from the camera. That's evidence! What are you doing? So Candace then asked, and the guy showed it to her. And so, the picture I've been showing you of Candace, there's no blood out the back. The back of the neck. Because the filing document says he was shot in the neck, in the front. And Candace says he was not shot in the back, and there's no blood. The blood. Mother, the blood. There's no blood, Mother. And so Erica is now pissed with Candace. What are you doing, Erica? Shut the hell up! You're the prime suspect. Oh my God. There are just certain things that when you're innocent, you do, and you don't do. And when you're guilty, you do, and you don't do. You know, like if you're innocent, you smile in court. Because you know it's all a big fraud, and that you will be found innocent. So yeah, this is a pure evil thing that is going on. The prosecution has no case. The assassin got away, and there is cause to believe that other people need to be immediately investigated. Erica and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So, good job for Candace. Keep it up. As I saw, she did 2 videos today on it. Alrighty, we'll do this tomorrow.